Pisces rising. Uranus has been in Taurus in your third house over the last 8 years since 2018, and it is due to move into the sign of Gemini into your fourth house on Monday, the 27th of April. Whilst Uranus has been in your third house, this has been shaking up and waking up your house of communication, local neighbourhoods, siblings, cousins, childhood friendships, early education, information sharing. And when you have Taurus ruling a house in your birth chart, this is a fixed earth sign which doesn't like change. So perhaps you found yourself, if you're a young person, maybe you had to change school. If you're an older person, maybe you had to change the building that you were learning from. And perhaps that didn't necessarily feel comfortable. You know, Taurus, wherever it is in our birth chart, it likes to get used to the routine and the structure, and it doesn't like the change. But when Uranus has been moving through Taurus, it's kind of like, yeah, but that structure and change is stagnant. It's not allowing you to open your mind up and be expressive enough and receive all of the information that is just screaming at you to be inhaled and absorbed into your psyche. And therefore, Uranus in Taurus is breaking open that third house and saying, how can we do things differently? Perhaps you've been experiencing a lot more road blockages and local transportation redirections over the last 8 years. They are so frustrating, aren't they? But actually, it's through reaching those road blockages and then having to take the detour in your local neighborhood, in your shorter journeys, as opposed to your longer journeys, which happen in the 9th house here, Pisces risings. It's the local neighborhood journeys and the tangents that have been really opening up your mind to what are the possibilities. How can I learn about this new topic? How can I maybe teach this topic? How can I break this topic down into bite-sized parts so that it makes more sense? And how can I find a way of sharing those bite-sized pieces as opposed to the whole thing? This last 8 years could have been lots of changes with relationships to siblings. Perhaps you started the 8-year period being really close to a sibling, and you've ended the 8-year period realizing we are not aligned, we are not on the same page, we don't have the same values, the same opinions. You know, Taurus is a Venus ruled sign, so we are thinking about our values, we're thinking about women in our lives, we're thinking about what works, what doesn't work, and what is my divine feminine right. And perhaps if those experiences don't mesh with a sibling, then perhaps, unfortunately, you've decided that you don't want to spend time with that sibling anymore. Or perhaps it's the alternative. Maybe you started the 8-year period where you weren't particularly close with a sibling, and through a period of these redirections and the road stoppages, and they're kind of like, you can't take that direction, you have to take this detour, you've found that you've come closer together with a sibling. And actually through the two of you coming together, you realize that your opportunities of freedom and expansion and receiving divine knowledge have become much more open and much faster than you could have imagined. So Uranus is moving into your fourth house now, which is shaking up and waking up your fourth house of home, family. This is your roots. This is your soul tribe. This is your bloodline family, but this can also be just your family of choice. This is the home that you live in. Perhaps there will be a house move over the coming 8 years. Perhaps you really love your home right now and you think, no, I couldn't possibly ever move. And actually experiences come along over the next 8 years which offer you the opportunity to perhaps move into something even better that you didn't think was even possible. And that's the whole thing, isn't it, with manifestation, is that we have to say that the thing that we really want is already in existence. So Pisces risings, if you live in a 1-bedroom flat on the first floor and what you really want to do is live on a small holding in a farm in the middle of the countryside, in the middle of nowhere, then we have to say that that is what we are doing. That is what we're manifesting. Make the vision board, make the dream board. What is the home life that you want? Because the fourth house is really important, Pisces risings, that you have this resting place where you can go and be private and be with yourself or be with your chosen family that you live with. And you can research all the topics you want to. You can be explorative. You can get into music, you can make art, you can share your voice, you can do some singing, you can do writing, you can read poetry, you can share poetry. Gemini is very curious. It needs a lot of activity. So you need to have a lot of communication in your home environment. Maybe you need to set up a music hub in every single room of your house. Maybe you set up your lights. So I hear that people do this. I'm not technological at all. Maybe you set up your lights to be aligned with your with your audio speaker, so that you just speak to the audio speaker and then it switches all your lights on. But this is about being curious about technology and inviting it into your home. Maybe you start sharing more from home. Maybe you are working from home, and through being curious within that living environment, you are able to share more authentically your ideas, which are valuable. Pisces rising. Gemini in the fourth house is able to communicate from the home space more in a more factual way, in a more kind of evidence-based way. You are able to communicate clearly information that other people can find helpful. Perhaps you get into teaching from home, perhaps you get into learning from home. There's a lot of curiosity and movement here in the home over the coming 8 years. And your home environment is likely to look very different in 8 years' time, as opposed to now when Uranus first moves into Gemini. And with Venus moving into Gemini just before Uranus moves into Gemini, we get an idea about how good this can feel, how aligned this can feel. What do we like about this Uranian energy, this divine energy? What do we like about receiving these intuitive downloads when we're at home, in our resting place, in our safe space of home? We've got the door locked, nobody can reach us unless we want them to, because this is Gemini. So we do want the communication, but we want the communication to come in through the divine as well. So this is the universe communicating to you once you are resting in your home space. Meanwhile, we've got a sextile aspect taking place between your fourth house and your second house of Aries. This is a Venus-ruled aspect, so there's a free flow energy here between your home and your house of material resources and acquisition. This is your house of skills and your house of talents and your house of your things. And this second house is receiving a massive activation right now with all of the Aries energy in the sky. That means there's lots of curiosity and playfulness around all of those topics. And we're not thinking about the long term here with the Aries energy. We're just thinking about, let's start the new thing. This is the conception point. This is, let's try new ways of bringing material resources to me. Let's try new ways of expressing my own talents so that I can be seen in the world. Being seen is a very Aries archetype because the sun is exalted in the sign of Aries. It's very much like, here I am in my childlike self. And the more you embrace your childlike self and do some of that healing, that inner child healing, because we've still got Chiron in Aries at this point as well, the more that we are able to receive the divine insights when we are at home in this home space. So there is a clear line of communication between that second house and that fourth house, which is encouraging this more playful optimism around living environment and around meeting our soul tribe.